Everyone, in today's video, I will show you the step-by-step process on how to create algorithmic trading strategies with Python. So, first we will have a look at what algorithmic trading is, and then we will have a look at, in step number 2, the process of developing algorithmic trading strategies. And lastly, we will go to the practical part, number 3, where we will automate algorithmic trading strategies. And every strategy starts, of course, with a backtest, where we want to make sure that the strategy has been properly passed and also to optimize some parameters. Then I will show you how you can create a live trading bot with Python and MetaTrader 5. And in the last step, I will also explain how you can deploy a strategy to a virtual private server so your strategy can run 24/7. So, first, what is algorithmic trading? And according to Google, it is a process or set of rules to be followed in calculations or other processing operations, especially by computer. So, what it basically means is that we are trying to create a trading system that has explicitly defined rules and there are no exceptions. And the advantage of that is, so first of all, we have a set of rules without exceptions. So there are no surprises when we use an algorithmic trading bot. Second is that we can code a trading strategy based on technical indicators or fundamental data. So all strategies are basically data oriented and there is no discretion or emotion. Um, so because the trading strategy has clear defined rules, we can easily automate it using languages such as Python or MQL. And lastly, and I think this is also like a very important point, is that we can backtest the strategies. So many times, right, if you trade manually, you have to go back into history and then use like your discretion to see if the strategy worked. For algorithmic trading strategy, that is not necessary. You can simply write some code, backtest it for like the past five or 10 years, and be sure that what you're trading has been working in the past. So, let's now go to the process of creating a trading strategy. So what I believe is you should always create strategies based on a certain like idea, right, or hypothesis. And this is a very common example that I like to use. So let's say this is the hypothesis: the trend is your friend, right? This is something very common in the trading world, and let's put it to the test, right? So we have trend is your friend as step number 1, and so in order to create a trading strategy, we have to find some technical indicators or basically a quantifiable market property. And for this, I like to use the moving average crossovers, which is a very good indicator to define trends, right? So to quickly explain what the moving average crossover is that it uh, is made of a fast moving average, right? That is following the price much quicker, and it also is made of a slow moving average that follows the trend slower. So whenever the fast moving average is above the slow moving average, this would be considered an uptrend, and when the fast is below the slow, we would consider it a downtrend. So using this technical indicator, we can now quantify this market property, and then in step number 3, we can write some set of rules, right? Something like when fast moving average is above slow moving average, we should buy, and if it is the other way around, then we should sell. So from analyzing the market and quantifying its market property, we are now to like creating a trading logic, right? And after we have a trading logic, we want to go to step number 4 and backtest the strategy. So here to backtest the strategy, we will use some historical data, and we will use that data to see if the strategy is working, is profitable, or whether we need to optimize certain parameters. What backtests allow you to do is also they show you how the P&L is developing, right? So whether it's doing constantly or whether you are not making any profits at all, and then only once in a while you may make profits. So this is what the backtest is good for, to at least understand how the P&L also develops. And if you're happy with the backtest, so you see that, okay, I'm okay with the risk parameters, I'm okay, with when I make the money based on the backtest, I will then put the strategy to a forward test. So if the backtest is successful, we will create a live trading bot trading on a demo account, or even better, if you have small funds to spare, it is also a good idea to trade with small amount on a live account to also work under real market conditions, right? Because demo accounts sometimes give you guaranteed fills, and to account for liquidity and slippages, right? It's also many times a good idea to trade on live. So if the forward test is successful, so if you're happy with the results, with a small amount on live, then the last step would be to trade live, investing a significant amount of capital and see how it goes, right? So if you're happy with the forward test, then it's ready, to trade like significant volume to start making money in the live markets. So now that we understand the general workflow of creating a trading strategy, let's now get into the practical part. And first, let's ask the question, why Python, right? Why should we use Python for trading? In my opinion, Python is a quite easy language for beginners to learn. So if you're new to programming, I definitely recommend Python. And second, and I think that's the most important thing for me, is that there are many libraries for backtesting and algorithmic trading. And the libraries that I like to use and that I also teach is Pandas. And Pandas is a widely common library for data analysis. Another library that I like to use is Plotly, which is used for data visualization. And the platform that I use for trading is MetaTrader 5. And MetaTrader 5 comes with a Python integration. That means, what it means is that you can use Python to request historical data from the MetaTrader 5 platform and also send orders to the remarket. So it allows backtesting as well as trading. So I added the links for all of these libraries. So if you want to check them out in detail, you can check it from the presentation that I will also post on my GitHub page. So let's now actually automate the strategy that I mentioned in step number 2. So as you remember, I like to use trend following strategies using moving average crossovers. So in this video, I will create a very simple moving average crossover strategy on the German stock index DE40. The time frame we will trade on will be M5, and for the fast and slow moving averages, I will use fast moving average 10 and slow moving average 100. And remember, the train logic that we're going to use is if the fast moving average is above the slow moving average, the strategy should buy, otherwise it should sell. And I added a chart, right, with the indicators. So in this case, the red line is the fast moving average and the blue line is the slow moving average. So whenever the red is below the blue, we should sell, and whenever red is above the blue, we should buy. So this is the end of presentation, but I will now proceed with the code on the GitHub page. So I will show you the exact backtest that I made on my GitHub page, and then I will also show you how I coded the algorithmic trading bot. So I will now proceed to my GitHub page, and I'll be right back. So This is my GitHub page, Algo Trading Strategies, where you can find the backtest and the live trading bot on the moving average crossover strategy that I explained in the previous presentation. And if you click on the follow strategies, you will find two files. One is the backtest, and the second one is the live trading bot, tradingstrategy.py. So in backtest, you will find general data analysis, how the strategy performed, and in a short moment, I will show it in my IDE how this strategy performed for this year 2022. And if you go back to trainstrategy.py, if you want to use this code to trade live with StringBot, always, of course, be careful at your own risk and discretion. You can use this code to run a live trading bot using moving average crossovers. So I have the ready-made code here, and all you need to do is you just have to create a file with account credentials that has the login, password, and server to your broker server. All right, so let me now switch to my IDE so I can show you the backtest. So I'm now in my Python IDE with the Github Repo that I shown you just a while ago. And so let's now go through the backtest. So the backtest, I'm using libraries pandas, plotly, datetime, MetaTrader 5, and also I'm importing my account credentials for my MT5 platform with the login, password, and server. So first, to connect to the platform, we're using mt5.initialize, and then we're logging into our account that's provided by the broker. Here, I have specified some default parameters for backtest. So for backtest, we're using the symbol DE40. We are trading on the M5 time frame. The range of the backtest is from January 1st to July 1st. I also specified the trade volume, which should be 0.5 contracts, and also I set a commission to €1 per contract traded. So the first thing we have to do is we have to retrieve the historical data from the broker, and we're doing that using mt5.copy rates range. And if we pass in the symbol, time frame, start date, and end date, we will then get the data from MT5. I also converted the results into a pandas data frame, and the result of this cell is this table. So we have candlestick data, M5 candlestick data with open, high, low, close data that will be used for the backtest. To calculate the simple moving averages, period 10 and period 100, what we can use is we simply take the close price of the bars and then we decide the period using rolling. So rolling takes the past 10 or 100 candles, and to calculate the average, we use mean. Also, I'm calculating the hour column using detailed hour, as I also want to restrict the strategy to trade only during London and US session. So this is also something I add extra. So now, after calculating the indicators, we then calculate, or we then have to apply the trading logic, right? And what I'm creating first is to create a function, a sigma function, that will tell us whether we should buy or sell. So first of all, I set the trading hours between 9 and 18. So I don't want my strategies to trade prior to 9 a.m. or after 6 p.m. And if this condition is met, I then compare the moving averages. So if the simple moving average is above or greater than the simple moving average 100, it should return 1, and 1 here should represent long or buy position. If it's the other way around, it should return -1, and the -1 represents the sell position. If no conditions met, it should return 0, and 0 means we're flat, so it should not buy or sell. It should basically trade. So to get the signal column, we simply take our data frame bars2, and then we apply the get signal function, and it will then check row by row if this condition is met. And if we check the result here, we see the signal, right? Signal 1. So for example, this SMA 10 is 15,968. This SMA is 15,897. So SMA 10 is greater than SMA 100, and also the hour is within our allowed permitted trading hours. So therefore, signal is set to 1, so we should be in a long position. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm also going to calculate the previous price change to see how much money we would have made if we had exposure in that market. Right, so to get the previous price, we just take the close price and shift it by 1. And to get the price change, we just subtract the current close price minus the previous close price. Another thing that I have here is something called signal change, right? So a signal change means that we are going, for example, from a long position to a short position when the crossover is going, the fast is going below the slow. And the signal change is important to basically know when we are changing the direction. And lastly, I also added a commission column. So the commission column simply is also an approximation how much we would have paid the broker for the trade activity. And after we get the columns above, now signal change, price change, and previous price might be a bit confusing for you. But here in this cell, I'm going to show you how we can use this data to calculate the hypothetical profit on the backtest. So basically, the profit of our strategy is the signal column, right? 1 or -1 times the price change times the trade volume. So, for example, if the signal is buy, right? So we're buying the German stock index, and the price changes, for example, plus 10 US dollars, and we have a trade volume of 1, right? We have 1 contract. So if we know we're buy, and we know we own 1 contract on the German stock index for 1 unit, and the price changed by $10, then our profit is $10. And to get the gross profit of our strategy, we just use the cumulative sum. So we're summing up the profits that we're getting over time. And the net profit column is just the gross profit minus the commission. So after paying the commissions to the broker, this is what you would earn and see in your trading account. So here I calculated the profit, gross profit, net profit columns, and maybe it is easier to understand visually. So if I plot the profits using Plotly Express, so here we have the time axis down here, and we have the gross and net profit here. We see that the strategy using a volume of 0.5 has made around $2,700 gross profit, right, and 2,300 I'm sorry, euros, because the German stock index is quoted in euro, so we would have made $2,380 net profit over the last 6 months. As you can also see, right, we have some drawdown periods in strategy. So here we have a peak in March, right, March 31st, and then it dropped, here to this drawdown on May 18th. So we had a profit of 1,900. Here we had a profit of 1,000. So we have a drawdown of around $1,000. So in general, this curve looks very profit in my case. If you want to back this data for a longer history, feel free to do so. But I just wanted to share a sample code how you could back this strategy. So now that I've shown you the backtest, I will also show you the live train bot in Python. So we are back in our GitHub repo, right? We are looking at our live train bot. And what we have here is we need to import MetaTrader 5, pandas, time, date time, and our account credentials. Again, these are the default parameters of our strategy, D4D, M5. Volume is here arbitrarily set to 0.5. And I call the strategy M8 trend following, which will be visible in the comments in the MetaTrader 5 platform. So differently from the backtest, right? We have to process like live market data. So instead of requesting everything for past, I had to write functions, right, to process the data immediately. So to get the simple moving average, all we have to do is we have to just specify a symbol, time period, and the SMA is simply the rates, right? The candlesticks from MetaTrader 5, where we specify the symbol, time frame. We take the candle from the first position, and then for X periods, right? So if period is 10, you would have candles starting from first position to the 10th position. We take the close prices of those, and then we calculate the mean to get the SMA. I also created some functions for trading to close some positions, right? So here, this function closes the position by specifying the position details of our open trades. So you can check this in detail if you have any questions, right? You can ask in the comments. Also, I have a function close positions, right? So this function will close all positions in the platform based on order type. So if I set order type to 0, it will close, or order type to buy. What it means is that it will close all buy positions. If I set order type to sell, this function will close all sell positions in the platform. I have another function that will check for allowed trading hours. So again, I don't want to trade outside of London US session, basically from 9 to 17. And so if you're in this hour range, right, it should return true, and it means that we're allowed to trade. Otherwise, you should return false and say trading is not allowed. Also, we have a function to send a market order. So we have a trading signal, right? We want to send a real trade to the platform, and we just have to specify the symbol, volume, order type, and I set the deviation and match it to some default values. So if, for example, if you want to send a trade on the D4D, you would specify DE4D, volume 0.5. If you want to buy, just say you want to buy, right? And that will open a market order. If you want to check the details, how the data is sent, you can check this request dictionary, which is passed to MT5 or is sent, right? And after defining all the functions, I have like a main loop, right, where we have our trading logic. So what we first do is we have to connect to MT5 using MT5 initialize. Then we log into our trading account using our account credentials. And here we have the main while loop that is checking for trading signals and managing our trades. I printed some general account data, just to have some overview of my account when I open the terminal. And first of all, I want to check in my strategy how many positions are open on my account, right? So to get the number of open positions, we use MT5 positions total. Then we check for the trading hours, right? So if we are not allowed to trade, then I will use my close position function and setting the parameter to all will close all positions. Then I will calculate the fast SMA, slow SMA for the current period, right? So I will use a get SMA function, and here I set the period to 10 and 100. And this is the main logic part, right? If fast SMA is above the slow SMA, first we want to close our sell positions. And if no position is open on my account and we are allowed to trade during our trade hours, right? Please send a market order where we buy with this condition. And this part is just the sell condition, so we would sell this part. This loop refreshes every 1 hour, so it checks it loops every 1 second. So every second it checks for new data, right? If there's a new crossover, and if it could close all positions after markets are closed. So this is it for strategy. And now in the final step, I will show you how you can deploy the strategy on a VPS. There are many VPS providers, but the one I'm using is Contabo, as I have a lot of experience with them. And so for a single train bot, I think the cheapest one should do it, unless your strategy has higher computation requirements or has to be, I don't know, super fast and for storage. So what I do is simply I order the cheapest one, this Cloud VPS S, and I'm just going to provide you, some basic configurations that I'm using. So here you can select the period, how long you want the subscription to be, right? You can select where your VPS should be hosted. Assuming that your broker is located in London, right? I recommend using the UK hosted data center VPS. There is a data center in the UK. Now this is up to you, but I use this free one. And remember that MT5 only works on Windows, right? So if you want to write a train bot, you would have to order a Windows server, and then you can, set the password for your server. So to connect to the server, you'd have to use something called remote desktop connection or VNC, but you can read more about it online if you need help how to connect to a VPS. So you can order like this, right? I'm not sponsored by this provider. I just wanted to share, a provider I work with, and how you can quickly, deploy a strategy using Contabo, as I think this is the cheapest option. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope that you enjoyed it. And before we finish the video, I'd like to provide you with a few tips and recommendations. Right. So if you're new to algorithmic trading, I recommend to think about the strategy and how it could be automated. Right. So a strategy that has clearly defined rules and that can be on using, for example, technical indicators. And after all the rules are defined, you can then set up Python on your PC, run backtests, and then you can try trading live or demo using a bot. And what I suggest for beginners is to keep your strategy simple, right? Because beginners usually have like these great ideas about their algo trading system, but the most difficult part is starting to code, to backtest, and once you get this learn to do these things, right, you can always add more and more over time as you learn. So this is basically everything that I wanted to add. So I thank you very much for your attention, and please let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Thank you.